By the time you sit down at your desk in the morning, you're already hit with new tasks from every direction. An urgent email from your boss, a Teams message asking for feedback, or a colleague dropping something on your plate before you've even opened your calendar. And here's what usually happens. You try to keep it all in your head, promising yourself you'll remember later. But of course, things slip through the cracks. Deadlines get missed, you feel constantly behind, and even though you're working non-stop. That's exactly why you need a simple, repeatable way to process new tasks the moment they come in. Every time something lands on your plate, run it through this 5-step workflow in Microsoft To Do. It takes less than a minute, but it keeps you in control, protects you from overload, and makes sure nothing important gets lost. And yes, I should know. I've been sharing Microsoft 365 productivity strategies for years now, helping millions of professionals use tools like To Do, Outlook, and Teams to manage tasks, projects, and meetings without the stress. And today, I'll walk you through the exact workflow you can use for every new task that comes your way. When a new task lands on your plate, what do you usually do? Most people not accept it and either start working right away or quickly add it to their list for later. Maybe they ask about a deadline, maybe not. And while that feels productive in the moment, it's actually the fastest way to end up with an overloaded task list full of things that don't really belong there. Here's a better approach. Whenever a new task arrives at your desk, don't just accept it automatically. Pause for a second and challenge it. Ask yourself, is this really a valid, value-adding task? Does it need to be done at all? And is it even my responsibility? If the answer is no, you've already done the best possible job. You stopped a non-task before it ever cluttered your list. If the answer is yes, then your job is to dig deeper. Don't just move on and hope for the best. That's how tasks get misunderstood and work goes in the wrong direction. Instead, ask the clarifying question up front. What's the actual goal? What's the context? Has any pre-work already been done? Who are the key stakeholders? What's the real deadline? And is there any hidden information you need to know? By doing this, you make sure the task is well defined before you move on to step 2. But before we move on, the way to process tasks at the very beginning is what determines whether you stay in control or end up overwhelmed. So if you want to learn how to apply this same principle across all of Microsoft 365, not just in To Do, but also in Outlook, Teams, OneNote, Planner, or Loop, check out my Microsoft 365 productivity class linked below. It's packed with practical strategies to help you save time, reduce mental clutter, and get more done every day. Now, once you've challenged the task and confirmed that it's valid, the next step is to capture it properly. And here's the mistake most people make. They either scribble down a vague note like report or trust they remember it later. The problem is, a vague task today becomes a confusing burden tomorrow, or maybe even a bad result the day after. You'll come back to it and think, which report for whom and by when and what did it even help with? To avoid all this, you should capture tasks in Microsoft To Do the right way, with enough detail to make them actionable. On desktop, click Add a task at the bottom of your list and type it in. I usually have the planned task smart list as my default view, but you can also include it in any of your other shared or personal lists or even the tasks smart list. Now here's the important part. Make the task name specific. Don't just write presentation. Instead, write something like draft Q3 sales presentation for Team SureFix. That way, when you see it later, you know exactly what needs to happen. And then click on the task to open its details on the right-hand side. Here you can set a due date so it's shown up in your planned or My Day list. Add a reminder to make sure it surfaces at the right time. Break the task down into steps if it has multiple parts. Add notes or attachments for extra context. Just think of it like this. You're setting up your future self for success. Tomorrow or next week, when you look at this task again, you won't waste time trying to remember what it meant or where to find the details. It will all be right there. And once the task is captured with all the details, the next question is simple. Can I delegate this to someone else? Even if you've clarified in step 1 that the task is valid and connected to your role, that doesn't automatically mean you're the one who has to do it. Too often people hold on to every single request that comes their way, and the result is a bloated task list full of other people's work that never moves forward. Instead, make it a habit to think about who the right owner or supporter for this task really is. If you're a team lead and get a task from your boss, that might be something you can pass on to a team member. If you're a senior in your team, you might assign it to a junior colleague. And if you're a junior, you might still have an intern or working student who can take it on. The key idea is, don't assume you have to keep everything. Delegation isn't shrinking responsibilities. It's making sure work is handled by the right person at the right level. And if it's not your responsibility, hand it off. In Microsoft To Do, you can create a shared list with colleagues. Inside that shared list, click on the task and then use the Assign To option to give it to the right person. This way, the task is still tracked in your team list, but you're not carrying the weight of it. If the task is truly yours, then make it work for you. Open the task details again and add a realistic due date so it shows up at the right time in your planned list. I'd also recommend to set a reminder so it doesn't sneak up on you. And double check that it's in the right list, maybe work, personal, or a specific project list. This takes away the two biggest risks: forgetting the task entirely or having it buried so deep in your list that you never act on it. Now, if the task stays with you, the next step is to make sure it doesn't just sit there gathering dust. A captured task without a priority is just another item on a growing list. And that's exactly how overwhelm sets in. So ask yourself two simple questions. How important is this task? And when will I actually work on it? Is it urgent and due tomorrow? Then it belongs on your list for today. Is it a longer term duty with several weeks or a month to complete? Then schedule it for later, after high priority work is done. And if it's a recurring task, decide upfront how often you want it to appear, daily, weekly, or monthly, so it doesn't sneak up on you. The point here is, don't just capture tasks, give them a clear priority and timeline. That way, your list becomes a plan you can act on, not just a parking lot for a lot of stuff to do. In Microsoft To Do, you've got a couple of options to handle this. If the task is something you want to tackle today, drag it into My Day. This creates a focused daily list and keeps you from staring at dozens of unrelated tasks. My Day resets every morning, so it's a great way to stay realistic about what you can actually get done on a specific day. If the task is due in the future, add or adjust the due date. You can do this by opening the task details on the right pane and clicking on Add Due Date. This ensures the task automatically shows up in your planned list and you won't need to keep reminding yourself about it. For tasks that repeat, like weekly reports or monthly check-ins, set them as recurring tasks. Under due dates, choose repeat and pick the frequency that makes sense. That way, To Do will bring it back to you at the right time without you having to re-enter it every month. And for bigger or time-sensitive items, go a step further and block time directly in your Outlook calendar. Just create a new appointment and label it like your task so you know this time is blocked for working on it. Now, if you want to go beyond and to not only improve your task management routine, sign up for my newsletter using the link below. You'll get weekly practical Microsoft 365 tips, plus a free access to my 7-day mini masterclass on managing emails, meetings, notes, tasks, and projects more effectively. Now, at this point, at step 5 of the workflow, the task has gone through the full process. You've challenged it, clarified it, captured it, and decided when or by whom it will be done. In other words, it's no longer a loose end, it's part of a clear plan. And this is where many people go wrong. They keep circling back to the task in their head, wondering if they've really captured it correctly or worrying about whether they remember to follow up. The worst thing is when the task is only due in a couple of weeks or maybe even months, but people keep thinking about it right now. That mental replay is what creates stress and eats up away your focus. So here's the truth. Once a task is in your system, it's safe. You've defined it, given it a place, and set the reminders you need. You don't have to hold on to it mentally anymore. So the final step is pretty simple. Just move on. Stop carrying it around in your head and trust the system you have built. That's what gives you the freedom to focus on the work in front of you instead of juggling dozens of half-remembered to-dos for later. But just to be clear, if the task is due today or tomorrow, moving on simply means getting started on it right away. So this simple to-do workflow is just the starting point for keeping your task list under control and your workday more focused. There are so many other features in Microsoft To Do that can save you time and prevent overload. But most people don't even know they exist. So watch this video next, where I'll show you some of my favorite to-do tips and tricks that can completely change the way you manage your tasks going forward.